So we should be live. So get ready, Kenya. It is our moment of glory. This should hopefully work.
Hi, Ginger.
Hi. So we're almost live. I'll tell you when we are live.
Okay.
Thank you so much for doing this. We'll keep this nice and brief. I know you, but we can always have you on again. I prefer to have people on multiple times and try to get everything once, you know?
Okay. I'll come back as many times as you'll let me.
Okay. Of course, that'd be great. Okay. Let's see. This is live. Parents organization. This should be working. Come on. Yes, we're live. Okay, great. So thank you everybody who's waited for the technical difficulties. I'm here with Kenya Rahmaan. Am I saying your name right or am I saying it wrong?
Yes, it's Rahmaan.
Rahmaan, okay.
Yes.
So the first thing we're gonna do is I'm posting this into our comments section is if you can share this on your page. So I'm posting in the comments section. So just go to your own page. So I'm gonna go to Erasing Family on Facebook. And then I'm gonna go to my own page, Ginger Gentile, and just share this live feed. While we're doing, where are you talking to us from, Kenya? Where are you, you know, where in the country are you? I'm in LA.
I am in Texas.
You're in Texas.
State. Yes, it's cold and raining today.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking for the link. Where, maybe I'll go to your.
It's on, if you go to National Parents Organization.
Yes.
You should see it on the comments. Or if you click on the live video and right click, it'll say show link.
Okay.
I'm also going to post it on mine. You can also do there, you can, if you look at the video, you can also do share and just share it to a page, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, underneath you can just do share. So I'm just gonna do this. So great.
Oh, okay, I see it.
Everybody who's listening, if you can just share to your own page, that'd be great. So we have a lot of people joining us, so let's get to it. So Kenya, I'm gonna ask a question I'm sure a lot of people are asking. And I'm gonna be sexist and maybe even a little racist here. How did you get involved with child support? Because when we think about the people who complain about child support, we often envision older white dudes who are saying, my ex-wife is spending all the money on her nails and her appointment and really angry about this. I'm a slave to child support. So how did you get involved with this? Because you to be quite frank, you don't fit the profile, which I find very exciting.
I don't, I'm the custodial parent in my case. Way back when my daughter was a child, my children were little, I had to file for child support. Long story short, I wanted to close my case in Columbus, Ohio, where I'm from. And it took me 8 long years of fighting the system. And the reason for that is because I was receiving public assistance, TANF now, and it's a lot more difficult to close a TANF case than it is a non-TANF or welfare case. And me fighting the system, trying to close the case, my case, taught me a lot about child support. And I found out how unconstitutional the system is. And I've been fighting ever since to close a TANF case than it is a non-TANF or welfare case. Is that me? And me fighting the system, trying to close the case.
Yeah, there was just some feedback, but I got rid of it, so don't worry about it.
Okay.
So you're receiving welfare. So why on earth would you say, stop giving me the money, stop giving me child support? Wouldn't you want that money? I mean, you had a kid.
Well, I wasn't even receiving the money, and I found out that because how the system is set up, once you receive welfare benefits, you actually sign your rights away over to the state so that any child support collected on your behalf will be paid to the state. They keep that money. Now, some states.
Wait. You're saying, I'm just gonna give an example. Let's say TANF benefits are what, $400 now? They're very low, right?
Yes.
Let's say $400. And let's say your ex-partner, the father of your children, your ex-husband has to pay $1,000 a month in child support, which is common, not a
Yes.
number. You're not getting 1,000.
No. If
So
you
where
are-
does that 600 go to?
It goes back to the state to repay the benefits that you have received while on public assistance. In my case, I had moved to the state of Texas. I wasn't even living in Ohio, hadn't received public benefits in years. And they weren't, it doesn't even matter because I had received benefits. My rights to any money collected, arrears or otherwise, belong to the state of Ohio.
So how does this benefit the kid?
It doesn't.
But
It
it's
doesn't.
called child support.
Right.
So you have on one side, you and your kid aren't getting any support.
Right.
But then the father of the child is forced to pay the sum that isn't going to his child.
No. And in fact, more than half of the states won't pay any money to the custodial parent if they're receiving benefits. And the other half, the remaining states, they'll pay up to $50. The minimum is 50, up to $200 for 2 or more children. But that's the limit. And that's less than 25 states that'll even do that. But it's up to the discretion of the state whether they want to pass through the money or not. So
do they do this in all states, or is it just a crazy Ohio thing?
No, it's all states.
So and then even if you get off welfare, you still don't get the child support?
No. You literally sign your rights over to the state. So your rights are over. Like in my case, I had to fight them. Like I said, it took 8 years for me to even close the case and get the arrears, which were $30,000 or something crazy like that, to have the case closed and the arrears erased. Had, say, he won the lottery or something like that, and he won $30,000, I wouldn't have received any of that money. So it just goes on and on. So they don't let you close it. And the reason why is because the states receive performance incentives based on how many open cases they have. So keeping your case open means they get money from the federal government. So they're going to fight you tooth and nail because your open case gets them money. Child support has nothing to do with the children, has very little to do with children.
And did the father of your kids, did he lose his driver's license? Was it a hardship for him to pay this money?
Yes, it was an extreme hardship. And in fact, the reason why this even started is because he was in jail. He got arrested on another charge and he bonded out, but he had a child support hold on him. And they actually called me, the judge in Texas, and asked what did I want done with him? Did I want him released or and I said, well, let him go, and that's when I realized that's too much power for one person to have over another person simply because we had a child together. So it just was.
So the judge called you to ask you whether your ex-husband, ex-partner, ex-boyfriend could be held in jail or be set free.
Right. It was my decision. It was yes or no. If I said, I'll keep him in there, he's keep him locked up, she would have kept him locked up. That's too much power. And that started this whole thing.
And how did this transform your life? Like, what are you doing now with this?
Well, from then on, like I said, I started researching for my own case and started researching the system, started fighting, trying to get my case closed. And I started finding out all this stuff about this child support system. A lot of people like myself are ignorant to what this child support system really means. And once I start researching and finding out about TANF, about Title 4D money, the incentive money, all this stuff, it turned into a book. And I wrote a book called The Child Support Hustle. Oh, here it is. I always keep a copy
Awesome.
handy. And
And you also went back to school, right? And got a master's?
yes, that was unrelated. But yeah, during that time, because I had moved out here and I had already earned my associate's degree, but out here I moved, for a better life for my family, for myself and my two children. But so I earned a master's when I came out here. So,
Oh, wow.
things were, moving up. I just wanted a better life for my children, being a mother. I didn't look at it like, oh, I'd have to depend on this child support and I'm not putting anybody down, but if I have these children, they're my responsibility. That's how I look at it. They're going to eat regardless.
So I'm just reading a few comments here. I have doesn't sound legal at all. What the fuck? Judge stopped fearing society, thinking they run the show. I have Randy Stone who said, "Good for you, mama, way to go."
Thank you, Randy.
People are, so the comments I'm getting aren't that people don't believe you, they don't believe that this is possible. Does that make sense?
Well, it was,
Like it just sounds so crazy that your ex-boyfriend is paying all this money that doesn't go to you, that you have the power to decide whether he's free or not, that he gets in debt, not helping his own child. This just seems insane.
It blew my mind. And even today, and I've been doing this for as far as advocating with the Child Support Hustle and the Reform Child Support Now movement. I've been advocating since 2013. So every day I hear something from a parent across the nation, sometimes across the world, and it blows my mind because this is not just a United States issue.
No.
This goes on, and this, Ginger, this is something that goes on around the world, but it's concentrated here because we're supposed to have constitutional rights that prohibit the things that happen to parents. We're supposed to be protected from the things that the government does in the name of child support. And so it just blows my mind that these things are happening.
Mm-hmm. And so I mean, I think you're one of the most knowledgeable people on this issue.
Oh, thank you.
And so Jesse Hodges just said it's very possible because my ex-wife told the judge to lock me up when he asked her what to do with me. Brandy Stone, the line between criminal court and family court is so blurred. There are laws protecting criminals, but the laws aren't there to protect parents in family court. So just to clarify, Kenya, something you say all the time, can you be jailed for any other debt in the United States? Like, can you go to jail because you don't pay your credit cards?
They're starting to do that. It's not very well reported on, but in some states, there have been reports that people have went to jail for credit card debts. And actually, I just posted a piece that, I'm sorry, I can't remember the state, but they're actually jailing people for owing medical bill debts. Now, these people, one lady was dragged out of her house with cancer and they locked her up. Like this lawyer, that was his bread and butter, taking these patients to court. So it's becoming more common.
But technically, debtor's prison is outlawed in the United States.
Yes, outlawed in 1833.
1833, okay.
Yes.
So Kathy was asking, how can they order child support and not give it to the custodial parent because they're hijacking both parties? I not to get too much back into history, but child support wasn't, as you said, it's not about the kid. It really was invented to repay the state for taking care of what they called at the time bastard children.
Yeah.
That it was never, so it was always intended to pay back the welfare that they were giving. So that's part of the reason why. And I know you have so much stuff going on. You sent me today some study highlights that you're working on. What are you working on right now that you want to let people know about?
I'm bringing light, or I'm trying to bring light to the access and visitation program that the states are supposed to administer. They receive $10 million
per state
annually,
or to all the states together?
per state. Every jurisdiction receives $10 million annually, and this is supposed to promote parenting time, some type of parenting arrangement. There's a list of things. If you don't mind, I'm gonna turn on my
Yeah,
look at my notes real quick because I have.
sure.
But they're supposed to.
But $10 million per state is not a lot of money, because how much does a state typically get for child support enforcement?
Oh, billions.
So,
I mean, just on a
so we're
on a well, the
talking
state,
like
well, like 50 million. I have to look at the
500,
numbers.
yeah. So 10 times 50, that'd be like 500 million versus over $4 billion.
Yeah.
No, wait, 10 times 50. No, it's like,
Let me pull it up. I meant to say that the child support system is a multi-billion dollar industry.
yeah.
To look at the states, I have that here too. It's just so much money. It's just so much money, and these kids get nothing.
So Matthew Haley said, by the way, the family court was created by judges and lawyers, nothing to do with the federal government. So Matthew brings up a good point, and someone brought this up the other day, is that like family court is actually this weird kind of creation that is not really regulated. That he's right, just judges and lawyers started to invent family court when all these divorce cases came up, because it used to be dealt with in like directly in civil court. But the reason why the federal government, Matthew Haley, does get involved in this issue is because they set federal guidelines. So basically, this is, while Kenya looks up her stuff, I'm going to take a very complicated issue and give you like a one sentence explanation what's going on. When you pay into Social Security, there's a lot of money, and the government takes that Social Security money, your pension money basically, and pays it to the states to enforce child support. And for the states to get this money, it's a ton of money. As Kenya said, billions and billions of dollars. You need to enforce child support in certain ways, which leads to a lack of shared parenting, more adversarial divorces. So it's kind of so it's the states run the courts, but the federal government basically says, if you want all this money, you have to play by our rules.
I can't believe I can't find these numbers on this.
It's okay, but just to give you an idea, like, so it's a small percentage to begin with, but I'm going to say that's great that they're giving some money at all to help people have access to their children. So we should be happy about this, right, Kenya?
Well, I don't think so, because why should it take any money so a non-residential parent can have access to their children? Why can't they just have access to their children? I understand in cases where there's violence, domestic violence or something, abuse and things like that. But when you just have two parents not living together, why isn't that non-residential parent just granted visitation and shared parenting with that child? And that's the problem, because they separate child support and share parenting and visitation on purpose, because they get more money by separating the two. And the $10 million or the money that they spend, which is not a lot of percentage, a big percentage on these programs are supposed to have, like parenting plans was only 13% of the money. Visitation enforcement, which most people complain about, most non-residential parents complain about, is the visitation enforcement. When parents do complain and say, she's not letting me see my kid, nobody says anything. You have to take them back to court, and then nobody wants to enforce the order. But they only spent 16% of that money. I think you said it was 50 million, or they only spent 16% on that. And in counseling for parents that need help with the co-parenting part, only 5%. So they're not even putting good use to this money. And a big key, the big thing about this access and visitation grant is that under former President Obama's administration, there was an act passed, and I have that. Well, I'll come back to the act, but in that act, 2019, I'm sorry, every new child support order is supposed to have some kind of parenting plan in that order. Okay. It's mandated. Before, they encouraged it. but 2019, fiscal year 2019 is supposed, which is October 1, 2018, there is mandated. So 25 states, their child support agencies failed to refer any new parents applying for child support orders to that program. They didn't even refer them, which means they did not get parenting plans in those child support orders. In the states with the most new child support orders with 0 referrals, Florida had over 28,000 new child support cases,
Wow.
no referrals to the program. Illinois with 33,000 referrals, new cases, no referrals. And New York with 40,000, over 40,000, no referrals to this program. Now, with all the jurisdictions participating and the number of participants in the programs, there was 81 in Oregon, Wisconsin had 16, and New Mexico had 1. So then we have to ask again, where's all this money going? 10 million might not seem like a lot per year, but for something as important as giving access to a child to the other parent, when we know how important studies have shown, and we know how important having both parents in the child's lives are, why aren't they spending more money on this program? So I just thought that I think that's very important.
I mean, this is just so disgusting. So the little money that's given isn't being used because we know that there's 22 million parents in the US who say they're alienated from their kids, which means that they're having trouble seeing them or they can't see them at all. That's what polling shows. We also know by the numbers that a lot of children lose access to a parent. And what little help there is not being used. This is really disgusting. I'll ask you some more questions, but I just want to tell our audience we're getting a ton of comments. We are not going to do a super long chat tonight. So if you have a question for Kenya, something specific, this is a great time to ask her. Please make the question as specific as possible. And you could ask some tips in your case, but don't give us your whole story about your case because neither of us are lawyers. So we just want to make that clear. So Kenya, what should a parent do do parents have a lot of options if they see that their child support is too high?
They can file for a modification. And the problem with that is that there's a long response time from the child support agency, which is a huge problem because a lot of parents report by the time that they need the modification, because they're injured or they lost their job, their child support is still accumulating while they're not working because nobody's responding, and then they have all these arrears, and then by the time somebody does respond, they deny the request. So that's something that we are actively trying, my organization is actively trying to lobby the legislators to make them at least look at these cases when somebody asks for a modification in the quickest manner possible. Because what's the use of being able to file for the modification if it's not granted when you need the modification? But I definitely encourage everybody, if it's too high, file for a modification. If it's sitting there, file a complaint with the supervisor at the agency. Say, hey, I need this right now. If not, that money is going to keep accumulating and you're still going to be responsible for the debt.
Yeah. So Kenya, here's a very specific question. If the court order doesn't specify who can claim a child on taxes, can a non-custodial parent claim a child on taxes?
I do not give tax advice. Taxes.
Okay.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. So just to be clear, we are not attorneys or accountants or psychologists. But so here's a question I have. So this issue affects a lot of people. One stat in the film I just made, Erasing Family, is that 1 in 8 men who are in jail in South Carolina are there for non-payment of child support.
Yeah.
South Carolina is really bad. It varies a lot by state, but that's 1 in 8 men who are in jail in South Carolina are there for non-payment of child support. And nationally, the people who are in jail for non-payment of child support, I think it's about 90% make less than $10,000 a year.
Yeah.
So basically you're in jail for being poor. So we now we're beginning to talk about the criminalization of poverty, the prison industrial complex. I remember watching The 13th, which is a great documentary on, how Jim Crow morphed into the prison industrial complex. And Newt Gingrich, was there talking about how bad the prison industrial complex is and how these tough on crime laws really put a generation behind bars for no good reason, especially for nonviolent and drug offenses. Now, my question to you is, if this issue is so unfair because we're jailing people for being poor, the money isn't going to the kid anyway, why is there such reluctance to talk about this issue? Why do politicians not want to go near it? And what can we do to change that?
Well, I wrote a bill earlier this year to re-abolish debtor prisons, especially in child support cases. And my colleague and I actually lobbied out here at the Capitol of Texas. And while the the senator and the representatives that we did meet, they liked our bill. They thought it was a good bill, but the feedback that we received was that it was too controversial. And the senator said he did not want to piss his female constituency, the constituents off. That was what he said. So it was tabled. And that is what basically the atmosphere is out here. Nobody wants to piss off women. So they're scared to change, and women go and they vote. We vote. So I think that's the fear. Nobody wants to piss women off. And as long as that's the attitude, I think it's going to be a harder road to travel to get these changes that we so desperately need. Now, how we can do it is get more women like ourselves. There's lots of us out here. There's lots of women, female non-custodial parents. There are a lot of new girlfriends, wives that have to deal with all of this crap that comes with the ex, the one that's harassing, their new mate and everything like that. So we're out here. They're out there. So we just have to bring us all together and show, there's some women that support this change and abolishing debtor prisons and all of this stuff that comes in with reforming or abolishing, some say abolish, the child support system. So I'm all for it.
That's great. I also think that it's very important at this stage of where we're at talking about child support to always put the emphasis on how unfair and unjust the enforcement mechanisms are, such as prison, removing a driver's license or a professional license, because how can you work if you can't drive or if you can't practice your profession? It's also important about how the state takes all of this money out with fees. In a Racing Family interviewed a man who owed about $30,000. It started off as a $2,000 debt. It ballooned with all this interest, but then all of the interest he was paying off, none of it went to the kid. It went to the state.
Oh, yeah.
Which the mother I interviewed, she confirmed this. And then recently in California, this was a California case, Governor Newsom vetoed a bill to change that. They actually voted a bill saying that the state could no longer take these interest payments, and he vetoed it because you would lose a lot of money. So I think that emphasis is always the way to go, as opposed to my child support's too high. I don't want to pay for my baby mama. I've seen posts like this to get her nails done.
Yeah.
I think these are other important issues that need to be addressed. And I always say too, we also in this country have to talk about how we're going to support all of these poor and newly poor families, because with increases in automation in the labor market, we're seeing a big separation between the haves and the have-nots. And we have to address who's going to take care of these children when you have two very poor parents or two parents who are just scraping by in these high-cost cities. So I think we always have to address it, and we can't just say, well, there's no support, because then who supports the kid? So really picking about choosing how you talk about it, which I think your message of debtors prison, abolishing. So we're asking to abolish debtors prison only 150 years after it was abolished.
Right.
But for reals now.
It's
And also having women leading this fight, children talking about how they never saw this money. I think also tying this into welfare and talking about how unfair it is, because imagine that if you are an impoverished custodial parent, that child support could be so much for you, and it's going to the state.
right.
So any closing remarks, Kenya? Like, how can people get involved? How can they find you? I also, before I hand over to you, I just wanted to let people know the National Parents Organization, which is hosting this webcast. You can see how your state does with shared parenting on our report card. It was released in 2019 by going to sharedparenting.org. Only 2 states were in the A range. One was Kentucky, which passed shared parenting legislation in 2018, thanks to the work of the National Parents Organization. And also, we at the National Parents Organization will be releasing a review of state guidelines and how it impacts shared parenting in the upcoming months. So we're very excited about that. So Kenya, how can people find you? How can they buy your book, and how can they get involved with your cause?
They can find us on Facebook at thechildsupporthustle.com. You can find all our information as far as social media on thechildsupporthustle.com. Wait, did I just say that? I'm sorry, it's getting late. Thechildsupporthustle.com has all our social media links and everything like that. We're on here on Facebook, The Child Support Hustle. You can go and like us. We have a big forum there. So if you want to talk with people, and you can discuss your cases there. If you need any help with your case, we advocate for non-custodial parents, and we help out whenever we can with advice. We're not lawyers, and we never advocate for a parent not to support their child. We never do that. We can, there's a client form at thechildsupporthustle.com that you can complete and email to us. And if we can help you, we will. And you can get the book, The Child Support Hustle. Our court documents are in this book. If it could help you out in clearing your case and closing your case, hopefully it will. At least it'll give you the verbiage that you can use. And that's available on our website as well. And one thing before we go, I always suggest to parents that when you owe a large amount of arrears, that you ask for an itemized statement from the child support office, making them prove the money that they're claiming that you owe, especially in Title IV or welfare, Title 4D cases. Make them prove that you owe the money that they claim that you owe. A lot of times, one person for sure that did that, they were $30,000 overcharged. It was a huge debt, and $30,000 of it was not, they couldn't prove that he owed it. So always get an itemized statement, because a lot of that money is made out of, well, most of the money is not really charged to you. So that's all I have to say.
Thank
Thanks
you
for
so
having
much.
me, Ginger. I really appreciate it.
We want to do more of these chats with you. Also, Kenya just released a blog on NPO. If you go to nationalparentsorganization.org, talking about a truly horrific case in New York. We hope to talk about his case more in the future, and she's going to do more blogs for us. And also, as we always say, the best child support is having both parents there for the kid, both parents sharing equal responsibility. So that's what this is all about. That's what the shared parenting movement is about. It's saying that the best support you can give your kid is being there, and we need to make it easy for parents to be there, not punishing them for wanting to be there and doing the right thing, which is what we do right now. It's easier to run away than to be a present non-custodial parent.
Yes.
So thank you so much, Kenya. So remember the Child Support
you.
Hustle. She also has a lot of awesome merch like t-shirts. Her books are amazing. And I honestly don't think I've met somebody more informed and more knowledgeable, even about minute and arcane details of the law than Kenya. So happy to have you on.
Thank you. Thank you, Ginger. Thanks for the
Everybody have a good
opportunity.
night. And remember, if you haven't already, share this on your wall and to any groups related to this issue. It takes 1 second, but it means so much to get this message out there. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night, guys.
Okay, I'm going to end this. Bye.
Bye. Jennifer.